only got one. You're special, Joe.
Look at this, we're all in our seats.
Not 6 yet.
We're all good students.
Good evening, everyone. I'm calling the Winnebago County Board meeting to order. Tonight is Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Tonight's invocation and pledge allegiance is by Board Member Steve Schultz. All rise, please.
Dear God, we don't take for granted that you've watched over us since we were together last, and we thank you for that. We thank you for how you provide for our needs in every way possible, most importantly, our spiritual needs. We're grateful for all those who serve our county in all the offices that we have our government to provide services for our citizens. Thank you for them. Thank you for their faithfulness. I pray your protection over them. I ask, God, that you'll be honored in our conversation tonight, that you'll be with us, giving us your wisdom and your leading. We trust you with this, and we thank you. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Thompson, are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
None?
There is one adjustment. I spoke with Chairman Salgado regarding the Finance Committee. And then just a reminder that after the appointment of Ms. Muraski, you will conduct the oath of office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Clerk Gummow, can you please call the roll?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will start with Mr. McDonald.
Present.
Mr. Neighbors. Mrs. Red.
Present.
Mr. Salgado.
Present.
Mr. Schultz.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Here.
Mr. Tassoni.
Present.
Mr. Webster.
Here.
Mr. Westcott.
Present.
Mr. Arena.
Here.
Mr. Booker.
Present.
Mr. Butita.
Here.
Mrs. Crosby.
Here.
Ms. Fellers. Mr. Gurl.
Present.
Mrs. Gorel.
Present.
Mr. Hoffman.
Present.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Lindmark.
Present.
Mr. McCarthy.
Present.
Thank you all. Mr. Chairman, 19 board members present, 1 board member absent.
Thank you. We do have a quorum this evening. We'll move on to our agenda. We do not have any awards this evening, presentations, public hearings. We do have public participation this evening. I'll read the statement before we proceed. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may not address zoning matters which are pending before the ZBA, Zoning Committee, or the County Board. Personal matters or pending or threatened litigation may not be addressed in open session. An individual may speak a maximum of 3 times per calendar year on the same topic. This prohibition shall include the repetition of the same topic in a statement on what is purported to be a different topic. Personal attacks or inappropriate language of any sort will not be tolerated. Our first speaker is Pamela Harding. If you could come forward, please.
Thank you all for allowing me to address you all here tonight. The reason for doing so is in regard to the abortion clinic that is wanting to come into our region. I want to remind you all of the oath of office that you've taken as Illinois elected officials. You stated in your oath that you do solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office. Parts of the preamble in the Illinois Constitution states that we, the people of the state of Illinois, grateful to Almighty God for the civil, political, and religious liberty which He has permitted us to enjoy, and seeking His blessing upon our endeavors in order to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of the people, maintain a representative and orderly government, provide opportunity for the fullest development of the individual. Article 2, Section 2 states, due process and equal protection. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor be denied the equal protection of the laws. We now know that life begins at conception. Science has proven this. Even the law upholds this, that if a pregnant woman and her unborn child is murdered, there are 2 counts of murder against the perpetrator. It's stated in your oath that you're to be providing for the health and safety of the people and providing opportunity for the fullest development of the individual. I would say that this oath includes the life of an innocent unborn child. I brought to you here today, and I've given them to our clerk, Lori, over 2,000 signatures, and it's still climbing, of the residents of Rockford and Winnebago and surrounding regions stating that they do not want any type of abortion clinic in our city or county. I presented these to our mayor Monday night and to the aldermen. These are lives, these are children, they are our future. These signatures that you now have are on behalf of these children that we value, and hopefully you'll reconsider your decision to allow the murder of these babies through abortion in this county. Make it a sanctuary county for life. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Reverend Earl Dotson, Sr.
The Bible. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according to the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions. I acknowledge my transgression. My sin is ever before me. Against thee have I sinned. When thou speakest, when thou judgest. This penitential attitude brings relief that the hidden thing is out, no longer in need for deception and subterfuge. For you have sinned, not only against your fellows, but most importantly against God, meriting the inevitable punishment. There is an enormous wealth gap between black and white Americans that was and is the product of sinful racism. Look at Westside Rockford and conclude otherwise. Thank God President Biden has signed a $280 billion bill recently, a couple of days ago, $54 billion for manufacturing to shore up America's competitiveness in advanced technology and manufacturing in response to China's dangerous dominance, especially in semiconductor technology, where Taiwan is the world leader. China is threatening an invasion that could cause an unspeakable nuclear war. All of America's dumb people with smartphones would be lost without Taiwan. Yet, our organization, while there is time, seeks some of those billions to reopen church school for relevant training, not mom and pop operations for South Main Street that will do nothing to close the wealth gap. This legislation, the America Competes Act, strengthens the national supply chain, the economy, national security, and includes lost Einsteins of color because of exclusion and disindustrialization of their communities, particularly in the Midwest. I, as co-chairman of Ministers for Manufacturing out of Chicago for Northwest Illinois, I am sure we're going to obtain some of those funds. I thank Congressman Danny Davis today for his support of this legislation for the last 2.5 years. No more exclusion. Thank God. I conclude with these words from the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound, loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 6 on our agenda, the approval of minutes. May I entertain a motion to approve the July 14th and lay over the July 28th, 2022 meetings. Moved by Mr. Hoffman, second by Mr. Lindmark. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to that motion to approve and lay over? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Number 7 is the consent agenda. Includes the raffle report and the auditor's report. May I entertain a motion to approve, please? Mr. Girl motions, second by Ms. Crosby. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to that motion?
I just want to abstain.
Mr. Neighbors abstains. Very good. All right, please cast a yes for all members present except for Mr. Neighbors' abstention. We move on to appointments. Number 8. Per county board rules, board chairman appointments require a 30-day layover unless there is a suspension of the rule. Tonight, I am placing up for the Winnebago County coroner position. Its compensation is $92,765 a year. Ms. Jennifer P. Muraski. This is a new appointment in Rockford, Illinois, to serve from the date the board approval until the time of the next coroner is elected and takes oath of office on or about December 1st, 2022. We have a motion to suspend by Mr. Arena, second by Mr. Sweeney. Are there any board members opposed to that suspension of rule? Very good. Please cast a yes for for every member for suspension of rules. Mr. Arena?
I move to approve the appointment of Jennifer Muraski as coroner.
Moved by Mr. Arena, second by Mr. Girl. Is there any discussion for the appointment of Ms. Muraski for Winnebago County coroner? Ms. Red?
Thank you, Chairman. Can you share with us, other than being in the coroner's office temporarily, what positions have she held?
Would you like me to share that, or?
Anyone that can give me a bio?
I believe the bio was in the packet. Okay, let me grab that packet. I know there's several things in the packet.
I didn't get it. Did I get the packet?
Just give me 1 second.
Oh, email.
Email.
Oh, my email's not working correctly.
All right. Let's start from, you just want her professional experience?
Yes, please.
Okay. She was the managing funeral director, licensed pre-planning advisor for Winnebago and DeKalb counties for Olson Funeral and Cremation Services. She's the owner, was the owner, maybe still is the owner of Muraski Monument Company. She's the owner of Adept Funeral Staffing Solutions in Rockford, Illinois, and currently she's been running the daily operations. She is the director of operations for the Winnebago County Coroner's Office. She was the past president, I believe, for CASA. Is that correct? Immediate past president for CASA. She serves on the Winnebago County Health Department, and she's the executive director for Safer Citizens in Winnebago County. That's in your packet also.
My email's not working.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Mr. Arena?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to add for everyone's benefit that I had asked various people who interact with the coroner's office about how things have been going under Ms. Muraski's leadership, and everyone who I talked to have been very pleased. And in talking to her personally, she's demonstrates a passion for the job, a vision, and I think in light of what's happened in the past with the coroner's office, her appointment will bring stability, and as the election campaigns unfold moving forward, there'll be a greater opportunity for the public to get to know her better. But at this point in time, I certainly feel that she's the best option for us to stabilize this office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arena. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to this appointment of Ms. Moraski? Ms. Rudd is opposition. Any other opposition? Very good. Please cast a yes for all other members present. Okay. So just a couple words. The Winnebago County Board and Winnebago County in the last year and a half has gone through a lot in the coroner's office. Our mission in Winnebago County is to serve the public to the best of our ability. And clearly that was not happening in the coroner's office at the time of the indictments. So I'm very proud tonight that the Winnebago County Board, through advice and consent, has voted to approve Ms. Moraski as Winnebago County Coroner. It deeply moves me that every one of us had to go through that experience in the coroner's office, but I want to give a big shout out to all the deputy coroners and their staff, the trying time they went through. And I want to thank the Winnebago County Sheriff, Gary Caruana, for stepping up to the plate and running daily operations in a very difficult time. Not only he was running the department of the Sheriff's Department and the Corrections Department, but he took on that task and he fulfilled it well. Thank you, Sheriff Caruana. We also lost during that time Chief Deputy Mark Carner, who was assigned to run the coroner's office. So as you can see, there's been a lot of transition within a short period of time in that office. So again, I'm very proud that it's come to a conclusion and that we're able tonight to appoint a new coroner. So at this time, it's my privilege and honor to give the oath of office to Ms. Jennifer P. Moraski. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Jennifer P. Moraski,
I, Jennifer P. Moraski,
having been appointed to the office of Winnebago County Coroner
having been appointed to the office of Winnebago County Coroner
in and for Winnebago County and the state of Illinois,
in and for the county of Winnebago and the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Winnebago County Coroner
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Winnebago County Coroner
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, you guys, everybody's been through a lot. This county has been through a lot when it comes to the coroner's office. We all know that. My goal, what we've done with the staff since I've gotten there in the last 5 months, is talk about looking forward and moving forward and walking forward. And the steps are going to be slow. And they're going to be baby steps at times. There's been a lot of hurt and distrust within the office and within the community, and I understand that. And my trust is going to be something that's earned. It's not going to happen overnight. But I will tell you that I have a passion 100% for this office. I was meant to be in this office, and I will not let you down, and I appreciate all of your support. And, you know, moving forward, I am glad to be there. I am honored to be there, so thank you very much. Sheriff Caruana, I thank you for your support and guidance to this point, and it's not over yet because I'm going to keep coming to you. It has taken a village, and everybody has been wonderful, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Item number 9 is reports of standing committees. Finance Committee, Mr. Salgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee has two items in our regular committee and then one item in the unfinished. So I'd like to take all those and move up the unfinished business, so I'll proceed that way. The first one is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $12.5 million of general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding bonds for the county. This is to be laid over, but I'd like to suspend the rules and vote on this tonight.
Moved by to suspend by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Hoffman. Is there any board members opposed to that suspension? Hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So therefore, I move to approve an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $12.5 million of general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding bonds for the county.
Moved by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Huffman. Is there any discussion on this ordinance?
Yeah, just to be clear, we're not taking refinancing. We're paying down $4 million. Is that correct, Mr. Rickert? And then the outstanding balance of not to exceed $12.5 million on that. So just wanted to throw that out there for everybody.
Very good. Any other discussion? None. Are there any board members opposed to this ordinance? Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
Yes, so I'd like to proceed and move on to unfinished business, the item that we have under Finance Committee. And I'd like to move and approve the ordinance for the approval of the budget amendment for the ARP Phase 3, Part 8, Public Safety Initiative. This was laid over on July 28, 2022 meeting, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Webster. Any discussion? Mr. Arena.
Just, I'm not able to find it immediately in my packet. The amount of this budget amendment is what?
$2.8 million, give or take. So $2,842,841 to
Okay.
be exact.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this ordinance? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
Thank you very much. So our next item is kind of related to what we just passed, the ARP Phase 3. Keep in mind that it was like total of $12 million, if you recall, for Phase 3 and the cameras. So it's just part of it. So this resolution, so I'd like to move and approve the resolution awarding the gigabyte to the desktop project Phase 2 and server licensing contracts. And I so move.
Moved by Mr. Salgado, second by Ms. Crosby. Discussion? Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's probably very apparent, it's just not jumping out at me. In the section that we approved under old business, we were referencing ARP Phase 3.
Yeah, it should be 2.
Then in the item before us, we're referencing Phase 2.
Yeah, it should be Phase 3 if I don't. if I
Yeah,
recall.
so within the ARP Phase 3 budget of 12 million, there's a couple of different phases within that. And this portion that's going forward tonight, this gigabit to the desktop Phase 2, the reason that language is used, if you recall last December, when we brought forward the gigabyte to the desktop project, it was split into two funding phases, 1.8 in December and 1.8, which is a portion of this that's coming forward tonight. That's why you see the difference in the language there.
I understand, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Arena.
So my question is related to this is all hardware or hardware and software?
Hardware and software.
Okay, so this hardware and software is essential for the camera system, which is going to be bid later, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So my question is, Heartland designed the camera system, and we were told in finance that Heartland would not be providing the equipment for the camera system, but here Heartland is, this is what, 1.5 million going to Heartland for hardware. So there seems to be a conflict there. Can you explain that?
Sure. So we've used Heartland for two separate engineering initiatives. One was for our gigabit to the desktop project. That was engineering that was handled by them probably starting about probably about end of last summer, so about a year ago. And they provided not only the engineering, but also the bill of materials and the locking in of the deal with the manufacturer. For some folks, they've probably heard me talk about this before, the way that procurement works for a lot of IT projects is vendors work with resellers, and when resellers have a project that they work on, they do a thing that they call locking in a price with a specified reseller. So once you do that, they get the lowest price possible that HP is willing to offer, and that's what we've received for this gigabit to the desktop piece through Heartland Business Systems. What you're referring to is the camera project. We did use them for engineering as well on that side, and the extent of their business there is providing us with the schematics for layout and the bill of materials on the equipment to be used, but they will not be bidding on the camera equipment itself.
Okay. So
This is the underlying infrastructure that's separately engineered and would be done with or without the camera project.
So that term, gigabit to desktop,
Yes.
what does that mean? Like in layman's terms, how should I think about that? What is it?
Sure. So right now in the county, we operate a lot of network devices called switches mainly. And the ones that are in place right now are 15 to 17 years old. They operate on 100 megabits, which is slower than what your cell phone can do now. Gigabit is 10 times as fast as that. So this is broadening the bandwidth that's available to all of our county offices, administration, as well as what we call the backbone, the kind of connections between our servers and underlying infrastructure.
Okay, so even if we never move forward with any cameras, this is still beneficial to the county. Nothing about this would be wasted in any way.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
So that concludes the report, and we'll have the committee of the whole for the budget presentation. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Salgado. Zoning Committee, Mr. Webster.
Thank you. We have no report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Economic Development Committee, Mr. Sweeney.
We have no report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Operation and Administrative Committee, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one item under unfinished business. It's ordinance amending sections 2-49, duties of the county board chairman, and 2-124, duties of the county administrator of the Winnebago County Code of Ordinances, and that was laid over from the July 28th meeting. And I would move to approve.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Neighbors. Is there any discussion? Mr. Arena.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following some input from county board members, there's one slight adjustment that we'd like to make as an amendment. Everyone should have received a copy. You'll see it on page 2, written in blue. So this would be amending section 2-49, duties, paragraph 11. It would read as follows, the entire paragraph. Establish the agenda for county board meetings, except each agenda shall include a report from all standing committees, and the items within the committee reports shall be established by the committee chairs. And then it strikes out, oh no, I'm sorry, these words did not appear in the version that was laid over. So as I read it is how it should appear if amended. That is my motion.
Very good. Motion to amend by Mr. Arena. Is there a second by Mr. Webster? Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to that amendment? Please cast a yes for all members present. We still have the original motion on the floor by Mr. McDonald, and I believe second by Mr. Arena or Mr. Webster. Was very good. Is there any discussion Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
That concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Public Works Committee, Mr. Tassoni.
Thank you, Chairman. We have no report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Tassoni. Public Safety and Judiciary Committee, Mr. Gurl.
Thank you, Chairman. No report.
Thank you, Mr. Gurl. Move on to number 10 is unfinished business. We have one appointment that was originally read in on June 23rd, 2022. Oh, Mr. Lindmark.
I had a quick question. We haven't had a report on the income brought in from the federal inmates. Do you have any idea on that, Mr. Groh? Pardon me?
Roughly 5 million.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay. So we have the appointment that was read in on June 23rd, 2022. The appointment is for the Community Action Agency. There's no compensation. And placed before you is Ms. Dorothy Red. This is a reappointment. Could I have a motion, please? Moved by Mr. Westcott, second by Mr. Neighbors. Is there any discussion on the appointment? Hearing none, please cast yes for all members present. That concludes our unfinished business.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chairman. You
Yes.
said, is there any discussion? And then you said, please cast a yes vote for all members present. We didn't actually vote.
Oh, excuse me. I'll retract on that. Are there any board members opposed to that appointment? Very good. Please give a yes for all members present. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Number 11, under new business. Is there any new business in front of the county board this evening? None? Number 12 is announcements and communications. Clerk Gummer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The items listed below were received as correspondence.
Very good. Mr. Webster, motions to adjourn. Was there a second? Second by Mr. McCarthy. Are there any board members opposed to the adjournment? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, now we're going to move to who's going to, we have a committee of the whole meeting. I'm going to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. Tonight is Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Clerk Gummow, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will start with Mr. Neighbors.
Here.
Mrs. Red. Mr. Salgado. Mr. Schultz. Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Tassoni. Mr. Webster. Mr. Westcott. Mr. Arena.
Here.
Mr. Booker.
Present.
Mr. Butita.
Here.
Mrs. Crosby. Ms. Fellers. Mr. Gurl.
Present.
Mrs. Gorel.
Present.
Mr. Hoffman.
Present.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Lindmark.
Present.
Mr. McCarthy.
Present.
Mr. McDonald.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, that's 18 board members present, 2 board members absent.
Very good. We do have a quorum. Are there any public comments this evening on the committee of the whole agenda? Anybody from the public? Very good. Move on to number 4. This is a budget presentation by Mr. Dave Rickert, our CFO. Mr. Rickert.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, as part of our normal budgetary process, we present the initial draft budget to the full county board. And I will read the specific section of the county ordinance that applies to this, Section 2-64D. Prior to presentation of the annual budget to the board for layover, the draft budget shall be made available to the public on the county website and in the county clerk's office for a public hearing, and shall be held at a committee of the whole meeting to allow for comments by the public regarding the budget. Comments may be submitted in writing prior to the hearing or orally at the hearing, subject to the limitations set forth in Section 2-85E, except that the number of speakers will not be limited. The annual county budget shall lay over after the first reading for at least 15 days. So that being said, that is why we're having this committee of the whole meeting tonight, to meet compliance with the ordinance. You have before you a packet that gives you a draft, a rough draft of where our budget is, and this is just the start of the process. There are numerous opportunities in this process for board commentary and input with the board on the budget. I'll just go through the dates going forward, what we're going to have going for the budget and where we're going to be. So starting on August 18th, the Finance Committee will have a question and answer discussion in regards to the budget, so there'll be additional input and details related to the budget, an opportunity for the Finance Committee to have input. I welcome all board members that want to attend and participate and listen at that meeting. You're welcome to listen and hear that discussion. On September 1st, the Finance Committee will then take by August 18th, we will have the full binders available for all board members. We'll present that formally at the Finance Committee on August 18th, and we will make binder packets available with the full budget to board members within their board boxes that you can obtain a copy at. So that will be fully available at that time. On September 1st, the Finance Committee will vote to move the budget forward. It would then go to board on September 8th for layover, and then from September 8th till September 29th, there's opportunity for any adjustments, amendments that we have in the normal budgetary process to make corrections or tweak the budget as we go forward, as we get more and additional information related to revenue line items, expenses, and minor adjustments we do. And then finally, on September 29th, we formally adopt and present the county board budget, and it's approved for the year. I will very briefly go over some of the highlights. This is not a PowerPoint presentation or anything. I just want to let you know some of the big items that we're looking at currently where we are. We're projected in the general fund with a $62 million revenue projection right now and a $68 million expense. So currently, and please don't be too concerned about this, we have $6 million in our process to make up during that, and we are still getting in revenue items, so I'm not concerned about that at this point. And revenue numbers are looking pretty positive right now coming in. So that's something we'll address at Finance. We'll look at what those numbers are. We'll find out if we have to make any revenue tweaks and or expense tweaks to make sure we balance the budget. And I'm fully confident by the time we lay this over, the budget will be balanced. So I'm not concerned at that point. One thing I will point out, if you look at our fund equity forecasts, which are made in the packet, the general fund, the public safety sales tax fund will have comfortable reserves. They'll meet our 25% three-month reserve requirement according to the budget. And very good news, if this budget is adopted in its current format, River Bluff will actually be going into the black and not the red. So that, and I know it's been a big goal and something we're working on, but like I said, we're just at the beginning phase of this process. I will point out a couple of other items here. This budget does take into consideration, and which is why we have a significant deficit right now. We have a tort liability adjustment of $4 million we have to make, but we'll look at that in committee and address that issue and find out what we can do to improve upon those numbers. One thing the budget accounts for, if you look at the public safety sales tax, is the bond refinance will significantly in a positive way impact the public safety sales tax fund. And so we'll have some decisions to make in the budget process going forward with how we want to address that issue and why it's a good thing and where we're going to go with that public safety sales tax. So the bond refinancing, I also want to put a special thanks out to a number of offices. We worked very diligently with a significant number of offices to go back and do a second round of adjusting their budgets, reducing requests, and getting really good cooperation from our officials. The Sheriff's Office, State's Attorney, Public Defender, and Circuit Clerk all went back and made significant reductions after careful consideration and looking at their budget numbers, and we've done so in a very cooperative manner, working with them. So there's been significant give on these issues, but like I said, we're at a very high level with where we are with the budget process. It's still got to go before the board. You are the ultimate decision makers with the budget, but Our goal in the finance office is to make sure we give you the information you need to make appropriate decisions. So that's where we are with the budget. I'd like to thank you. And like I said, those are the deadlines and due dates we're going to have for additional feedback. And as we continue this process, every year our goal is to improve this process, but make it better and better. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Mr. Webster?
Yeah, I just want to say two things jumped out there. One is the public safety sales tax. That's a big deal for that. I really am happy about that. But the larger one, or just as much jumped out at me, there's the River Bluffs finally going to be in the black. They've been in the red for so many years that we come to expect that. And so finally getting that house in order, so to speak, is huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Webster. Any other questions for Mr. Rickard? Yes, Mr. Butita.
Thank you. So the binders with the full budget, are they going to be available prior to the August 18th?
I will work with the finance department to see if we can't do that at least a couple of days before to adequately prepare and develop questions you will have with that process. So I will make a note to do that. We'll get them out as soon as we possibly can. And just so you know, there are a lot of, one of the big challenges this year with ARPA funding, ERAP closing down, and a number of really unusual activity or with revenues from the state of Illinois. This has been a real challenging year budget-wise, but I will get those numbers to you as soon as I possibly can. We'll get those binders out to the budget and to the finance committee, because the goal is to make sure you have adequate time to ask questions, tweak the budget, and get a budget that you can be happy with.
Any other questions for now? Mr. Webster?
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Webster, second by Mr. Butita. Any discussion on adjourning?
Pretty simple deal.
Are there any board members opposed to the adjournment? Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll watch the video.